Hello students, so today we shall do the question and answers of Elizabeth Bishop's The Fish. Question number 1. How did the poet hold the fish she caught? The poet pulls the fish half out of water with her fish hook lodged firmly in one corner of her mouth. Question number 2. Why didn't the fish fight to get away from the poet? The fish seems tired and held on a grunting weight. He was benumbed by all his struggles and age had mellowed him down. 3. Describe how the fish hangs from the poet's rod. The fish hung with a grunting weight without resisting in any way. He was injured and seemed venerable. Explain terrible oxygen. Terrible oxygen is a transferred epithet, as the oxygen is not terrible, but the condition of not being able to inhale the oxygen is terrible. So is the poet terrible who keeps the fish away from the water. Question number 5. How does the poet describe the fish's skin? The fish's skin is brown in color and hung in strips like ancient wallpaper. There are shapes like full-blown roses that are stained and faded with age. Question number 6. Why does the poet look into the eyes of the fish? The poet looks into the eyes of the fish to study his eyes and establish some kind of communication. Question number 7. Does the poet admire the fish and why? The poet does admire the fish because the fish had gone through various trials and tribulations as reflected by the various marks on his body. Name the things that hang from the lips of the fish. From the lips of the fish hung 5 pieces of fish line, or maybe 4 lines and a wire leader. All these had 5 big hooks attached. 9. What does the poet see in the eyes of the fish? The poet sees that the eyes of the fish had become yellowed and shallow. The fish did not return the poet's stare. The eyes also lacked depth, which is why he says that the fish's eyes are shallow. Question number 10. Explain the lines rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. Rainbow is a symbol of hope that shines towards the poet, the fish. Also, rainbow is a symbol of diversity that the poet maintains on earth towards the end of the poem by not capturing the fish. So next we go on to the paragraph questions. Question number 1. Why does the poet let go the fish in the end? The poet lets the fish go in the end because he recognizes the various struggles of the fish and it creates respect in him for the fish. His skin was injured and his body held the marks of various struggles. The lips of the fish held 5 pieces of line that proved that the fish had won 5 times in the struggle to evade death. These 5 fish lines seemed to the poet, therefore, like 5 medals. The lines on the body of the fish were crimped due to the strain and strap, and the wounds of the previous hooks had grown in his mouth. Symbolically, the fish also had grown along with these wounds. All these signs of struggle fill the poet with a sense of dignity for the fish and makes the poet rather celebrate the fish's existence, and therefore the poet decides to set him free in the end. Question number 2. Write a note on the poet's attitude towards the fish at the beginning of the poem. How does it change as the poem progresses? For this answer, please refer to answer of the same question. This is same. You have a similar answer over there. Question number 3. What is the significance of the repetition of the word rainbow? The poetess mentions towards the end of the poem that the oil in the pool of bilge or dirty water reflected a rainbow. This rainbow could now be found everywhere in the boat. As she repeats rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. Rainbow is a symbol of hope, and now there was hope for the fish that was about to be set free. Rainbow is also a symbol of diversity, And towards the end of the poem, the poetess maintains the diversity of the earth by not killing the fish. Such acts restore hope for planet Earth as well. In line with critical posthumanism, she sees the fish as a companion species, as Donna Haraway would call it. Question number 4. Explain how the poet visualizes the entrails of the fish. The poet terms the entrails as dramatic red and black. This is an example of transferred epithet, the way the adjective is transferred to another noun rather than the noun it qualifies. Here, the entrails are not dramatic, but the situation of seeing the internal organs through the wounds on the skin is dramatic. The colors red and black invoke a sense of rawness and sympathy for the intensity of the situation. So just students, this is for your reference. Transferred epithet is a figure of speech in which the adjective that qualifies one particular noun is transferred to another. To give you an example, if I come to the class and say the classroom is happy today, it is a case of transferred epithet because the classroom is not actually happy, but the students in the classroom are happy. So I transfer the adjective happy from students to the classroom, from one noun to another. Write a note on the adjectives, similes, and metaphors used to describe the fish. What does it convey about the poet's feelings towards the fish? The similes used for the fish are his brown skin, like on ancient wallpaper, its pattern of darkened brown, like full-blown roses, and the fish's pink swim bladder, like a big peony. The 5 pieces of fish line are compared to medals. The coarse white flesh is packed like feathers. The metaphors used are tarnished tin foil, 5-head beard of wisdom, and the idea that everything in the boat was finally rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. Adjectives used for the fish are tremendous, battered, venerable, homely, speckled, sullen, etc. Now students, this is for your reference again. Similes and metaphors are figures of speech generally used for comparison. The function of simile and metaphor is the same as you compare something to something else. The only difference is in the way of expression. In the case of simile, you say something is like something, or you use a words like, as, etc., as calm as a mountain lake. So those are examples of simile. In the case of a metaphor, you say something is something, just to mark a difference between the two. For instance, if I say my love is a red, red rose, it is a case of metaphor. But if I say my love is like a red, red rose, it is a case of simile. Question number 6. Comment on the central theme of the poem. The central theme of the poem, The Fish, is a celebration of the shared ability of the poet and the fish to triumph over adversity. The poet begins the poem talking of a fishing trip in a rented boat. She succeeds in catching a tremendous fish and pulls him out of the water with the fish hook. The fish does not give any fight but has reached its saturation point because of its various struggles. The poet observes that the fish has aged and notices that its skin is ragged and peeling. The poet is in awe as he finds the injuries and wounds on the fish's body as evidence of his previous struggles. The 5 fish lines hanging from his jaw are indicative of the 5 struggles where he has won in the tussle between man and nature. The poet also emerges victorious as finally her knowledge translates into wisdom and she releases the fish. The poem thus celebrates the undying and indomitable spirit of any living being as its existence and struggles are endured with a sense of dignity.